So normally on Thursday nights, I give you my losers of the week, but tonight I'm naming each and every single one of us a loser because we all, in some way, shape, or form, complied with tyranny for way longer than we should have. We set a stupid and dangerous precedent that by way of manufactured fear, we can be controlled. Just a little over 3 years ago, it all began, the COVID era, the dumbest time in modern American history, hands, but no mask down, only between bites. You know, many of us try to block that era out of our memory, but if you forget history, you are doomed to repeat it. So let's remind ourselves of all the utterly stupid BS we complied with, shall we? March 19th, 2020, I'll never forget it because I was flying back to LA from a weekend in Dallas, and it was the night Governor Gavin Newsom shut us down. California was, unsurprisingly, the first state in the nation to issue the BS shelter-in-place and safer-at-home edicts that initially they marketed as 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We were scared, so we complied. And I'm not just talking about California either. Damn near every state, with the exception of 7, South Dakota, Arkansas, Iowa, North Dakota, Utah, Nebraska, and Wyoming, shut down in some capacity. That means 43 other states, Republican states included, by the way, effectively told healthy people to stay in their homes, abandon their jobs, their friends, their extended families, and life as they once knew it to fight off a virus with a survival rate over 98%. They told us, no, they demanded we stay out of churches, gyms, beaches, hiking trails, the freaking ocean, and the small box stores for our health. But you know what was deemed essential? The banks, the liquor stores, the big box stores, and the BLM riots, of course. Y'all remember when the flippin' Coast Guard arrested a lone paddle boarder in Malibu for violating Newsom's stay-at-home order? He faced a maximum of 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine for paddle boarding alone in the ocean. You know, I was looking back at the original article and no crap, it referenced a leading scientist who said SoCal water is one of the riskiest places when it comes to catching coronavirus. Come again? I think we've too easily forgotten everything they've put us through and all the lies they told and are still telling. These tyrants like Fauci weren't stupid, they were calculated, and they still are. We were stupid. We listened. And guess what? It hasn't even been a full year since we've been able to travel on an airline without a freaking face diaper. That wasn't lifted until April of last year. Did y'all forget when they made us lift our masks between bites and sips of water? Or when they had the families of toddlers do the perp walk off the airplane for not forced masking their 2-year-olds? Remember when we had to stand 6 feet apart in the damn grocery store and everywhere else? I mean, just think back to all the crap we put up with for a glorified cold. And to appease us into remaining compliant sheeple, they sent rounds of stimulus checks and extended unemployment. So first, they tanked our economy, and then they inflated it, and now we're still suffering through it. And it wasn't just our economy they crushed. Our young people will struggle with generational learning loss thanks to the remote learning hoax the teachers' unions wrote the policy on. But they, the collective tyrant they, got what they wanted. Mass mail-in voting and our spines in a jar. But we let that happen. We gave them the power. And 3 years later, though most COVID restrictions have been dropped, these tyrants still have their emergency powers. And if you don't think they'll wield them again, you really don't pay much attention to life. They'll do it for the next politically convenient virus or the climate or anything else they pull out of thin air. We must never allow them to get away with it again. And yes, we were losers for allowing it for as long as we did. May we never, ever be that dumb again. We only look back to see how far we've come, but who am I kidding? Some of you are still masking and vaxxing, so I give up on you. The rest of us, though, never again. The nation's college kids are waist deep in spring break festivities, soaking up the fun, sun, alcohol, and drugs. You know, the same youngins that want us to forgive their student loans because they're so destitute and cash-strapped. But anyway, spring break has already taken a deadly turn in Miami, where a curfew was implemented, then lifted after at least 2 fatal shootings have taken place. This is the 3rd year in a row spring break in South Beach has gone awry, and it's really too bad young people can't have a week off school without shooting or being shot. But speaking of shooting up, gun violence and assault is not the only reason for concern. The rise in fentanyl and everything from cocaine to something as seemingly vanilla as Adderall is also a cause for pause. The border is open and there's no shortage of it or illegals coming across. Let's go, Brandon. Now, a simple solution outside of impeaching the whole Biden administration would be to, I don't know, not do drugs and especially not buy drugs on the streets from thugs and strangers. But kids are reckless and stupid, so here we are. A reminder, $2 on the streets can buy you a lethal dose of fentanyl, and it's really not worth it. But you know what else is not worth it? Going to freaking Mexico. Last week, Mexico's president rattled off a bunch of dumb crap about Mexico being safer than the U.S. He also blamed American families and lack of hugs for the fentanyl crisis and threatened to meddle in our elections if Republicans don't stop holding his crooked-ass administration accountable. He also claimed fentanyl is not being made in Mexico, which is a lie, though it's also made in China and then muled over here by his buddies in the cartel. So needless to say, we can't trust Mexico, and we shouldn't go to Mexico. It's not safe, period. Recent cartel activity, violence, and day-to-day crime and corruption in that country makes it unsafe for Americans and especially young people looking to get drunk and party with reckless abandon. And I've heard all the excuses before. It's safe in the resort areas. It's safe if you're in a group. No, it's not. My friend Taylor Meyer was stabbed to death in Mexico 5 years ago in the upscale resort town of Playa del Carmen, and he was traveling with a large group for a friend's birthday party. Yes, it is dangerous in American cities, but newsflash, when you go to a foreign country, and especially a foreign country with a corrupt government, if something happens to you, you are largely on your own. Our own State Department has put a level 4 travel advisory for certain regions, but the whole country has a do not travel alert, and yes, that includes your fancy resorts. More Americans are killed in Mexico each year than anywhere else on earth, so be warned. And here's an idea, kiddos. Instead of wasting your money or your parents' money or the taxpayers' loan forgiveness money on getting slammered on the beach, maybe pick up a paying side gig and contribute something to yourself in the world. Unlikely, but wise.